It's not enough swag. We need more William Sparta cutscenes. I can agree with that. Those cutscenes are good. I like the way you think, Goodman. Yeah, yeah. Like those, that particular like cutscene with Agnes was really good. It's just enough to make people go, "What is this nonsense? It's corny, right?" But then if you know Devil May Cry, it makes sense in context, and it's like it's the best thing because it's cheesy, but it's cheesy in a way that Devil May Cry can get away with. It's actually kind of nutty to consider. So Nitos, how's it going? Uh, yes and no, right? Like finished DMC4, right? Um, currently just kind of hanging out. I wouldn't necessarily I wouldn't necessarily have a problem like picking up another game, right? And playing something else. It wouldn't bother me. Mm, just DMC4 Special Edition is over. DMC5 will be the next like targeted stream, so to speak. But I wouldn't have a problem like just booting up another game after a bit and like streaming that. Currently just kind of trying to hang out for a bit though. To which I'll say thanks to everybody who like tuned in. Firstly, it's like I do appreciate it. It's like very cool of y'all to spend this time like watching me be bad with Dante. Cause yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, like Dante is such a weird character for me to get used to. Like I understand that in the case of like all his tools and stuff, he has something for every occasion. He has something for every situation, right? And that's part of what makes him like fun as a concept for ages on ages, right? Oh, corrupted Wesker. How much more corrupted can you be? How's it going? Like, you're Wesker, you're already corrupt. How much further does that take? That's an issue. That's an issue. You have no idea. That's craziness. I dig it though. The name alone makes you think if you know about Wesker, so is what it is. Time to punch a boater. A boater's not going to help you here. Not if it's corrupted Wesker. That's not gonna happen. You know, that's a thing. um, but yeah, like again, Dante's got options for days, right? There's a reason he fit so well into MVC3, UMVC3, MVCI. Um, they could literally give him the vast majority of his tools in Devil May Cry 3, and he just works as a character. So he's uber effective at just fighting. But when it comes to playing him, I can't do it. I can't. I understand what he should do to deal with individual enemies, right? I can actually sit here and legitimately write down methods to deal with specific enemies. But when you start putting enemies in weird combinations, that's where I start dropping the ball with Dante, because while I'm trying to do insert thing to deal with this enemy, the other ones around me are like dancing all over the place, and I can't really come to grips with what to do, right? Dante's tools can expand after obtaining the MC4 Pandora, seeing how it has 666 different forms, many of which we don't get to see, and that's a shame. That is a shame. 666 forms for Pandora, and we get like what? Six? Seven? No, nine, I think. There's the minigun. There are the two variants of rocket launchers. There's the pod that fires all of the missiles. Let's see, minigun, two variants of rocket launchers, the pod that fires the missiles. We get the laser cannon. We get the Beyblade thing that he tosses. There's the briefcase form itself that like fires stuff. Also, the one that you just open up and it's just light that just hurts everything in the room immediately around him. Yeah, that's somewhere around 7 or 8 actually. That's close. I may be missing one, but yeah, if you actually had 666 forms with that thing, it would be the only weapon you would ever need to use, because there would be something for everything. Can we even find that many inputs? We'd find it. I mean, we could borrow some from SNK. They have plenty. Half circle back, quarter circle forward, and the pretzel motion, the ever dreaded pretzel motion. Although, doing that in Devil May Cry, I don't know about that one. It had to be in a list form where you could select which modes you want to use for in-game, with a limit of 9 at a time. Yeah, that would actually be an idea. Tekken command lists. Yeah, for just that weapon, it would be disgusting. Thank you now, Nikki. Very, very quick on the draw on that bot. Much appreciated. SNK inputs don't make sense. Nah, well, some of them do. You want an input that like will actually irritate you, right? Um, Soul Calibur. In Soul Calibur, there's the summon suffering with Ivy. That thing is notorious. You have to actually make her dance the fandango to get that throw on. So many steps. So it becomes this really weird game, like trying to hide your emotions for the summon suffering behind something so that you can get it off. And then you may not even get the throw. You may miss. Why is a vice super half circle? Looks like half circle forward, 2 up. Yeah, kind of a tiger knee motion when you really look at it. It looks strange, but you can actually just do it in one fluid motion. The problem is it's a grab. It's a grab in the air. So, Good luck getting that unless you can make a strong read. If you can do that, you're good. Same motion for Duck King, you believe? Duck King. Duck King. Okay, so Duck King's got weird motions, right? But at least he's not Robert Garcia. I will forever have an issue with Robert Garcia because that man does not know what he wants to do or be. Every game, he's got a different fighting style. He's a charge character in one. He's a command character in another. In one game, he's throwing sonic booms. In the next, he's literally making the energy in his hands, dropping it next to his feet, and kicking it at you. In another, he's literally kicking waves at you. It, it's like, Robert, pick a side and a style. Pick a side and a style and stay there. Find a lane and get comfortable for all our sakes. Robert is sick. You know, the fact that he can switch his style up that much, it speaks volumes. But at the same time, it's like, slow down, buddy. Find a groove. Find a groove and settle yourself. Let's see. I think the idea of Dante works if you accept that it's not about mastery slash optimization. It's more about free form and expression. Technically, you can beat most enemies with Sword Master and Stinger's combos, but hey, wouldn't it be cool if you try the Royal Guard counter into Fireworks? Also, you like about SNK, you're getting different experience each game. That depends on the characters, but yes, SNK does try to do a pretty good job about that. I 100% agreed about Dante, by the way. He is all about expression. That's a very important thing with him. SNK does do their best to make their experiences different with every game that you play, and that's really cool. Characters, it gives characters a lot of personality. Athena is a very strong case of this. She's an idol pop star, and this is reflected in the fact that pretty much every game that she's in, she has a different costume. Every time. Every time you see Athena, she's wearing something else. Let's see, I only play King, Blue Mary, Iori, and Luong, so Robert is out of my league. Give it time. Give it time. Robert's just gonna be like Yuri, and he's just gonna pick up other people's fighting styles and do other people's moves altogether. You know, not that he isn't doing that already, because again, like I said, he's throwing sonic booms and stuff already as it is. That's already a thing. Um, but yeah, he'll get there. He'll get there. His fighting style will one day encompass everything that you just mentioned in those characters somehow. See, KOF 2003, KOF 11, also being vastly different in overall gameplay style. Then we have Neo Geo Battle Coliseum. All amazing titles. Yep. Yeah. SNK is the only company I know with a whole roster is saucy. Yeah. Yeah, everybody's got something. I mean, Robert had a DP flash kick in 98. He did. He did. It's like a DP flash kick. You know, that's coming off the back of him having one that's a charge motion. So it's like, you know, Robert, again, pick a lane, buddy. Pick a lane and settle in. Yeah, you could say that to Yuri as well, though. Yuri's a case. He is just cribbing notes from everybody. He does burn knuckles. He's got Denjin fireballs, and she's doing Tatsus, Shungoku Satsus, and dive kicks and demon flips. I was like, I love her to death. Like, She's one of my favorite characters to use, but it's nutty to see what she's taken from other characters. It's craziness. That's weird because I'm pretty sure Robert was motion in 14. Yeah, he's a motion character in 14, yes. Robert wants it all. Yuri can be kawaii or Akuma. Pick your choice. She can be both. She can be both. Like, we have definitely seen, like, Yuri can be a pretty solid mix of marvelous and murderous. Robert players enjoy the challenge of learning the same character every game all over again. I, for all that, you could play Blaze Blue. Mm. Blaze Blue definitely has that bad between the various editions. But you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Robert is definitely a character you can't get comfortable with. EO as well to a degree, which I think says something about like characters and their overall like willingness to evolve them as characters, because Kyo's gone from full on boxing and whatnot to tossing projectiles and, you know, having more of a kind of semi counter based style with like armor points on his moves and stuff. Oh man, Blaze Blue. That game hurts. Blaze Blue is my magnum opus. Yeah. Blaze Blue will definitely test you in regards to how you feel about the characters that you play and whether or not you can make them work in the system that shows up in whatever the next game is that they're in. Because there's a shift that happens between, if we take it as far back as Calamity Trigger and go from Calamity Trigger forward to Continuum Shift, there's a shift with the system that happens between those two games that completely alters many characters' overall game plans. And it was legitimately difficult for some people to adjust to that. They were just like, I don't know if I can like play this game, like play this game. As a Hazama player, it hurts. Blaze Blue is a game of maniacal BS. It is a game of maniacal BS. Blaze Blue's nutty. There's no getting around that. Listen, Hazama players are awesome by default because, like, you have to have dedication to be able to play, you know, that character the way that he plays and be happy with the matchups that he gets at times. It's definitely something to consider. Classic Kyo Fireball, up kicks, DP Nest Kyo Rekkas, DP, armor, and sometimes command throws. Yeah, I think it shows how SK is willing to sometimes experiment with designs. You can look at it. Angel Angel. Angel slash Angel. Yeah. Where she had the literal like people's elbow. She had moves and mannerisms from The Rock, and they got away with this. They got away with that. Love it though, because it's the only game you can DP someone and they wake up 4 times in a row and still be able to say, I'm nice. Jeez. I mean, there's always something to consider, right? Because if someone gets hit by a DP on wake up more than twice, it's like twice is kind of that limiting line, right? You get hit with a DP on wake up more than twice. At that point, it's a you thing, right? That's something to think about. So it's kind of like it goes along that same line of people that complain about not being able to beat someone that's doing a specific thing over and over, calling it a scrub tactic or something like that. Well, if you are losing to this tactic, what does that say about you? Like, it's why I tend to take a step back and try to just understand what's going on first and foremost, because I'm just kind of like, well, something's happening. If I get caught in a situation or hit by something and I don't know exactly what it is that hit me, I'll take a step back and be like, something's happening. I need to figure this out. I have to. Let's see. As a Kurogani Izuyoi player, I'd like to think I'm always cool. Cool and mashing. A fellow destroyed thumb enthusiast. Let's see. Also, IMO, no offense, Blaze Blue is hella obnoxious at times. Like, I hate Falkenhayn in CS and Izanami is just a city. Let's see. I usually run Hazama, Jin, Naoto myself. Naoto does not destroy he makes them strong. I don't know about that one. We might need to amend that statement and consider some things. I don't know. I don't know. See. My stick wrist is now immortal. Nah, like okay. Yeah, like I said, like if you're playing against someone and you're getting hit by something repeatedly, like then that's on you if you're not taking a step back and saying, well, let me figure out what's happening. At that point, that's a you thing. I have dealt with trying to actually help people learn in fighting games who don't have the patience to actually take a moment, breathe, and try to understand the situation. Like, why are you getting hit by this? Why is this working on you specifically over and over again? What are you doing or not doing that's getting you to this point repeatedly? Let's see. And then again, play Tiger, Bullet, Hakumen. Let's see. Really put in hella time in Blaze Blue just to get 6-8 and 14 frame delay. Base netcode by Susanoo. As a Gen player, the 14 frame delay is your best friend. Because you too can 6A and tap thine noggin. That's good. That's good. Yeah, see, Tempest understands. It's like, yeah, no, like it can be frustrating. Like you have people that say they want to learn, and then when you try to teach them, they're more concerned about what they can do to just look cool, do cool things. They want to do all the things, but they don't want to think. They don't want to put thought into their actions or try to slow things down and understand what they should and shouldn't be doing in the midst of a match. um, it creates a weird dichotomy because some people learn better through doing, others learn better if they have a visual. And if you need to find that middle ground, it can be hard because you could always, you would think you could always point someone to something and be like, well, look at this and look at what they're doing. You can't, because some people might not even be able to understand what they're seeing. They may not even be able to understand the concept of insert thing here. If I tell somebody, hey, this is going on because he is punishing this Oki, you know, he's punishing this Oki attempt by making a correct guess here. Or he's creating a frame trap in this particular situation, and they don't know what those terms mean, that's not going to help them. They have to actually get it. Say, I agree with what you're saying. There's a difference in learning and wanting to win. Yes, there is a strong difference in learning and wanting to win. You do have to know the basics, yes. People are always very quick to jump the, oh, this dude is bad using said strategy. See this a lot in the Street Fighter 5 scene. I've seen it in a lot of scenes, not just Street Fighter 5. I have seen that in so many scenes. I've had friends that I used to play with locally sit and watch, match videos and stuff from people like Daigo, as an example. And they, in general, will sit there and talk about how they feel like they could just do this and Daigo wouldn't be a problem. I'm like, do you know who you're talking about? Because I don't think you recognize what they recognize. There's a very clear difference here in both perception and ability. And I guarantee you would walk in front of him and he would just explode you. The backseat player. Hate that X copy equals win mentality. See, and that's the weirdness about it, because you very much can, as an example, observe other players and learn things that they do. You very much possible for you to watch another player and find things about their play style to emulate and learn from things that you see. But you have to understand why this thing that they're doing is working, why this sequence that they're putting someone through is going, it's going successfully for them. You can't just mimic without thought. If someone's putting someone into a situation in a corner that forces them into a 50-50, that in turn creates a frame trap if it's successful, or a frame trap, or they get a knockdown where they get a free, like, meaty situation off the back of that, well, there's a sequence there. And you have to understand that sequence, and you have to be able to know what the risks are within that sequence. In that particular matchup, you have to be able to try to predict and anticipate what your opponent is going to do to try to respond to that if they can. And all of this goes down within like seconds, just moments in matches. And if you don't understand that and you come in and you try to mimic that because you saw it and it looks like, oh, this works, you don't get why, it's not going to help you much, because you're just going to copy it and it's not going to be but so effective for you. Let's see, for example, huge fan of Yuto's Axel. I know he does his mixes and reads. When I play people, I don't have the experience to make those reads consistently or even be aware, because I'm not Yuto, I'm me. Sure. Well, it's like, if you were to get to a point where you understood why he, did these things, to create these mix-ups, to create these situations, and why he was able to make these reads based on those situations, then 100%, you could actually emulate things that he did at that point, because you do understand and you have the execution, you have the timing, and you understand the nuance. But until you get to that point, you're just going to have to adjust with what you do have. Not to say don't take anything from watching other people, because that would be foolish to just tell somebody don't do that. But you have to learn things at your own pace. That's a must. That is a must. Uh-oh. My friend Kazumura is saying that he may have to pass if on Virtua Fighter if they don't implement rollback. I don't think he's aware that it's going to be free for people that have PS Plus. Let me inform him. There we go. That should help. Now let's catch up on chat. Even then, if it wasn't for my scene and friends, I now learn to judge even my favorite players critically. Like, I like Yuto, but I don't like how he's greedy for overheads. I have more a defensive mindset, but I still enjoy his matches. Yeah. Yeah. And see, that's 100% like, alright, Nothing wrong with being critical of players that you watch, but understand where you are and where they are. Because, yeah, it can save you headaches. It can save you headaches. I want to try it. If the netcode sucks, I'll be inserting it into the library, never to be touched again. Listen, if the netcode sucks for Virtua Fighter, right? I would 100% say do not pass up on it just because of that. Virtua Fighter as a game, as a series, is ridiculously good. It may not be to everyone's tastes, and I would understand if you were to play it and not really kind of feel the game. Especially if, like, you've already gotten into a groove with something like, say, Tekken or Soul Calibur. Those games are very different. But Virtua Fighter is super rewarding. It's very much worth. Like, I made a whole thread this morning talking about why it is I love Virtua Fighter. I implore you to look into that Twitter thread, please. Maybe it will give you a little bit more insight on some things. Does it play like DOA at all? See, here's the thing. DOA started out as more or less of like a Virtua Fighter clone with its own things. Virtua Fighter came first. It's like, we're not looking at the same rock, paper, scissors-esque counter system that Dead or Alive has always had going on. Even though they have done, they've taken steps to expand upon that system in later games, to their credit. Virtua Fighter has always been much more technical. One of the more technical fighting games out there, for sure. Let's see. My thing is that the game would be fine on a 1v1 situation most likely. So bad netcode aside, just don't play ranked. Movement in Virtua Fighter is more like a chess match in respects. Let's see. Only thing I feel, DOA feels too fast for a 3D fighter, if that makes sense. Nah, I think the speed in DOA is fine overall. The big thing about DOA to me personally, is getting used to the timing between like counters. Whether you're in hit stun or whatever else. Like it's a little jarring to have a situation where you can land a hit, you know you can land that hit. And then you do, and then they're staggered. But then off of that stagger, it's a bit of a guessing game because you go from I landed a hit, I can land another. Should I actually try? To what is my opponent going to expect me to do now that I've hit this stagger? Because they could counter even though they're in hit stun. And if you're the type to second guess yourself at all in the moment, Dead or Alive is going to mess you up. Dead or Alive is 100% going to mess you up in that respect. Let's see. I love DOA, DOA 6 not included, but I honestly hate the triangle system. It's weird because I actually like DOA 6 a good bit. DOA 5 and 6 are two of my favorites in that series. But yeah, no. I mean, I get it. I do get it. But yeah, no, in regards to Virtua Fighter, it again, like it came first. Dead or Alive cribbed notes from Virtua Fighter. And it's to such a degree that when Virtua Fighter characters were included in Dead or Alive 5 and the versions of 5 beyond, they actually had like Sega themselves, like their dev team come on board and like, all right, we need to actually make these Virtua Fighter characters as close to their Virtua Fighter iterations as possible, right? So we want you to implement your systems into this DOA game so that, you know, the Virtua Fighter characters can come in and translate better, which is how we got the Virtua Fighter as like ground bounces and stuff like that you see, especially in like Jackie combos and stuff. It's nutty, and that's an entirely different like state of like knockdowns and bounces and stuff that didn't even exist in Dead or Alive until those characters came in. Let's see, like, hey, I'm +4, my throw is 6 frames, and you pressed a 9-frame button, but your throw involved because you pressed a button. Well, that's 3D fighters. 3D fighters actually do that kind of thing, not just a DOA thing. Let's see, if you host sessions for VF, I'd love to play. Okay, I have no issue with that as a concept at all. Because if the online's good for Virtua Fighter, I do plan on playing. Like, a lot. Like, a lot. So, that is a thing. Let's see. Like DOA 5 gave you one of your favorite characters a P4. You like Jackie and Sarah. Jackie and Sarah are great. Jackie in particular, like, Jackie's the hype machine. Virtua Fighter grandfathered the majority of standard mechanics of 3D fighters. They did. They did. Virtua Fighter has done a lot for 3D fighting games. It's actually nutty. So like, okay, to catch up, right? Like just to bring up some of the stuff that I mentioned in the thread, right? Like if you if you're playing like Virtua Fighter games from like 4, yeah, from 4 on up, from there you are generally going to have a lot of stuff at your disposal. Um 4 and 4 Evolution in particular actually have loads of stuff to help people learn, right? Up until more recent titles, like say Under Night in Birth and what's another good one? Blaze Blue, actually. Blaze Blue Central Fiction. Up until more recent titles like that, um, Virtua Fighter 4 and Evolution had some of the best tutorial and like just general like all kinds of learning tools, like some of the best tutorial stuff in fighting games in general, not just 3D fighters, fighting games. Because Virtua Fighter would actually take you aside and say, okay, this is how you do an option select, or this is how you do a frame trap, and it would actually tell you, hey, if you try to execute it and you're too fast or you're too slow, it would literally tell you you're inputting things too fast or too slow. Information that games don't give nowadays, and it will break things down. Um, it teaches you how to react in various situations, and tells you about like just character nuance and stuff that gives you a bunch of information that works across the board and actually translates really well to other fighting games. And then, if you don't necessarily understand it, it also has an in-game glossary that has a ton of terms in it, not just for Virtua Fighter, but for fighting games. There's loads. Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution is borderline the most perfect 3D fighter. That game taught you wall pressure and what is okay. Yeah, yeah, it literally teaches concepts and stuff, right? So there's loads to it, right? And then that's just on the technical level, because there's other things to it too. Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution and vanilla Virtua Fighter 5 all had the quest mode, which honestly, I wish to death the quest mode would have been like a thing that picked up from like in other fighting games. I wish they would have like actually copied that idea, because it's great. Quest mode in Virtua Fighter puts you on a map and says there are virtual arcades all across like the land that you can go to. You can find players, quote unquote players. It's like ghost data of actual existing players, right? And you play against them to increase your rank, to get better as you go along. And as you increase your rank, these ghosts that you've defeated already will actually increase their rank and get harder to beat, thus emulating the concept of playing in a setting where people are constantly trying to improve, which means if you're going to progress, you have to get better as a player, right? And then it's furthered even more. Yeah, it's furthered even more by the concept that there are particular ghosts of players that will only show up in specific regions. That's something else. Um, Ghosts are separated by regions. So you can, you know, be in one area, quote unquote, where there are players that you know you can handle once you've gotten good enough to deal with characters of this particular rank or whatever. And then, you can scope the competition elsewhere and kind of be like, do I feel like I'm ready for this yet? So you could always move at your own pace. And then you would run into, again, like specific ghosts of specific players in like various regions that were absolutely insane because they're like top players, ghosts of like top players and stuff. And it it pushed you to continually improve because there's no like RPG gimmicks to it where you're leveling up, and you can do like, say, Soul Calibur with Chronicles of the Sword, where it's like you get stats and weapons that have abilities, and that helps you a lot as you go on. No, the only way you're progressing in rank and everything else is by actually just getting better as a player. That's it. The more you understand the game, the better you can do. Yes, the level up is you. Exactly. And yeah. Silly. Like that's like kind of part of the point. Like there's so much about Virtua Fighter that it goes unappreciated, right? It's done so much and it's really cool. And I'm just kind of like, why haven't more people like picked up on these? Why have like fighting games not carried these concepts? I remember going to one of the harder arcades and getting crushed by a CPU pie. Yeah, and if you care about like getting the various, you know, the various cosmetic items and stuff, especially, then you're going to want to get better so that you can come back and beat that particular like ghost, that pie ghost that you got crushed by before, because she might have something that you want. Which, that's another thing. You fight these different ghosts and stuff, and you can unlock customizing items, and not just for the character that you're using, but like universal. So it gets really nutty because it's more incentive to want to do better. If you get into the customization and you see a particular ghost has something that you don't have, you kind of go, I want it, but this ghost is a monster, so the only way I can actually get it is if I get better. Let's see. I love that Virtual Fighter 4 Evo had actual versus replay data on it with high level players like Chibita and Homestay Akira. Yes. Yes. So you could see just how crazy some of that gets. Like at a high level. And you could also compare with the Ghosts in Quest mode to see, like, this is stuff that they do. This is why they do it. Right? There's so much to it, and it's really cool. Ah, I love Virtual Fighter so much. I'm so glad that like it's coming back. Like, and that's another thing. Like people are like, why are Virtual Fighter players so excited about yet another iteration of 5? Do you realize that we had Virtual Fighter 5 Final Showdown since like 2012-ish? We didn't get anything new. As a matter of fact, to be able to continue to play our game on current consoles, we had to buy other games because our game was within that game. That's craziness. Let's see, IMO, if they design more games like Virtua Fighter 4 Evo, you make games that do two things. One, make content for single players. Two, teach players who wish to be competitive. Yes. Yes. It will do both of those things for people that want to learn and push that particular envelope, for sure. Anyway, anyway, like that is that that's my gushing over Virtua Fighter. Like I'm excited. It's one of the few things that I would get like legitimately excited talking about. And I'm just kind of like I really want people to try it. I really want people to like give it a shot and like try to learn the game because it's worth and it's very fun. And with it being free via PS Plus on top of that, mmm, like even if the online is like there's no harm in trying it for free. Like I'm sorry. Like it's just like I was telling like my friend Kazumura on Twitter. Like you can't no, if it's gonna be free. So nah, you don't have a reason to pass it up now. Have a friend who isn't treating the game correctly, which is disappointing. Well, what are they doing slash saying? I don't understand. What do you mean by not treating it correctly? Hey, what are we talking about here? Ah, my goodness, freaking Virtua Fighter. Love it so much. Let's see. His comment was, "I can't wait to do the 100% combos." Ooh, you are coming in for the wrong thing. Not that there aren't any, but they are so very. You could literally count them on one hand, and that's across the entire cast. It's literally you could count 100% like zero to deaths on one hand, and the situations are like even less than that. Like the ones that I know of that I have seen have had to do with your characters being like big bodies that will do generally a lot of damage facing characters that have the absolute lightest weight in the cast, thus making certain juggles possible that aren't possible to anyone else. Yeah, extremely specific stuff, right? You're just not going to do it. It's not like that. Virtual Fighter is not that kind of game. Now, that's not to say that you can't like do juggles and things like that that do absolutely sickening damage. You 100% can. You can do moves and sequences that can actually really just blow away a health bar. But you're never in a position in Virtua Fighter where you can't really do much about what's happening to you if you understand the game. There are some situations where you can lock somebody in something where the next thing that happens is guaranteed, right? That's obvious. But that comes from knowledge of the game, understanding of your characters, understanding of the matchup. In general, you're not going to just overpower someone. And if you do steamroll somebody, it's highly, dependent on your ability, your skill compared to theirs. The way Virtua Fighter is as a game, any character is viable. Like, and it's wholly dependent on your knowledge of the character you're using and your knowledge of the game. And that's honestly something else that I appreciate about it. because there are people that are character specialists. They know how to use some of the characters that are legitimately considered to be worst in the cast to such a high level and degree that they make them look like they are just top of the pack. They're that strong. They are players, specialists of these characters that are so strong that they make the character impossible to ignore despite what statistical figures say, because of the way Virtua Fighter as a game allows you to utilize your understanding and ability to play to do exactly that. Yeah, it's nutty. It's nutty. Yeah, no, like I said, I adore Virtua Fighter. Like, please, please. It's like I am I am sorry for the consistent gushing. I'm just excited. I'm just excited. And I really hope people give it a chance. I do. Because that is where I will be. Even more so if the online is good. I already have like people in my Discord that they want to play with me when that drops, and I'm like, yeah, no, we're definitely doing that. We're definitely doing that. Um, like I got into playing like Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown, like a lot, and I used to play like with really high level players pretty consistently. I had people on my list that still to this day are like really high level tournament players that have kept the Virtua Fighter scene going strong. Um, and I had people on my list like Black Power CTU, Chi Flash. At one point, I had Shidosha on my list. Um, freaking Alter Genesis. Um, there were a lot. There were a lot, and like to be able to see players that I like played against to that degree and like know where they stand was kind of nutty to me. And I had someone on my Xbox Live friend list who actually broke down to me like, "Hey, do you know who you have on your list?" I'm like, "No, should I?" And then they would inform me like, "Well, this person's won this tournament in this place and blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Really?" Because I play them all the time. I don't, so I mean, it was something that I put a lot of time into, and I legitimately did like try to get pretty decent at it as a whole. It was quote unquote my game, so to speak. So it's something that I get really excited about, and if I'm not stopped, I will gush a lot. Let's see. Don't know if I follow Tricky Eileen. I do follow Tricky Eileen. I actually have Tricky as a friend here on Twitch. See, he's praying for Eileen buffs, and I'm here like, bruh, please, we're not ready for scumbag Eileen out here. Eileen, we had scumbag Eileen in vanilla Virtua Fighter 5. We had scumbag Eileen in vanilla VF5. It's like they they broke her down. They broke her kneecaps after vanilla, and it did not stop us from playing her. It's like I was actually like explaining some things yesterday to some friends, cuz like she had really good tools for keeping people off balance, like to a very strong degree. Yeah, she had really good tools to keep people off balance to a very strong degree. She had back forward kick, which back forward kick was a silly tool, an absolutely silly tool to have, because that thing had an automatic sabaki against mid and high punches, specifically punches. Um, didn't work against like elbows and stuff, but mid and high punches, yeah. Um, the kick itself, if it connected, produced a stagger. So you had a tool that would actually cover you from at least 50% of a person's offense in a situation where you would otherwise possibly be punishable. If you did something where, you know, you could probably be punished by a jab as any other character, and that's like the quickest thing they could do to actually hit you out of something or hit you with something because you did something and like they evaded or whatever, and you had the time, you could put that kick out there and get a sabaki and completely reverse the situation. And from there, it's just a pain train. It's just a pain train because she's gonna hit you with that. She's then gonna hit you with the scorpion kick, the heel kick that creates a crumple stun. You're gonna fall forward into a combo string, and then there goes 60% of your health just because. So it was just like when they took like some of that stuff away from Eileen beyond vanilla Virtua Fighter 5, I was just like, you know what? I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. Let's see. Also, I feel like when it comes to balance in Virtua Fighter, everything is logical and concise. Nothing's like unplayable. Right. Right. Like you can make any character work. Any character can be viable so long as you understand the game and your ability within matchups and everything. See, even Lei Fei, though he's slower, he's not useless or weak. Lei Fei hurts. Lei Fei in the right hands is pain. So you have to understand his rhythm on offense and defense to fight and play him. Yeah, you do. Stance transitioning. Different stances give you different moves and different properties within the stances. So it's an interesting thing. It creates a very interesting dynamic to try to work through. That's it. I can talk for ages about Virtual Fighter. It's so good. I do apologize for the gushing, but you know, hopefully, like Astro, like some of it gives you a better idea, at least, hopefully, of like just some of what you would be walking into, sort of, right? Um, I could point you towards some resources if there's some things you want to see about like specific characters and things of that nature, so that you can kind of understand what some of the characters are about, so that maybe you can like come into things with a better note of like who you might want to try. So it's all good. It's a game very few people talk about. Yeah, yeah. It is, and that's a shame. And you're seeing there's only one major tourney a year for Virtual Fighter for a weekend. Hmm. Hmm. East Coast. Okay. Let me find. Ah, here we go. BF Turney's Harpooner runs. Let's see, you didn't know about Virtua Fighter till you caught my Judgment streams. Yeah, yeah, that's why I'm glad that Virtua Fighter is in Judgment. So it's like, oh, if I feel like streaming Judgment or Yakuza Like a Dragon, which that might be a future thing because Virtua Fighter 5 is in that as well. You know I'm going to stop to play Virtua Fighter. And that might just grab a few people and be like, what is this game? What is this? You know, I have no issue with this at all. Let's see. Right there is a link showing that Virtua Fighter Ultimate Showdown is going to be free for PS Plus people. And I'll share that with Kazumura as well. That way he knows. Let's see. Space was sometimes an issue, like if iFix was crowded because of other things like card games, people weren't getting in. See, same here, it was just too far for you to be consistent at going. You're in the Bronx, now all the way down to Brooklyn. Too far for travel at that time. Bronx is a struggle, my guy. Moved out there years ago. Well, I don't know anything about that. And I do apologize that you have gone through that struggle. But yeah, that just goes to show like the lengths that people have gone to in order to push Virtua Fighter and help it thrive. Like if you've got a scene anywhere, typically for a game, then your game is alive, which is what a lot of people kind of sleep on the concept of. If you have people playing and willing to spread the word and help new people get into what you're doing, you have a scene. And even if it has to build one block at a time, it's still building, it's still progressing, and that's important. If Harpooner hopefully gets, for VF more consistently, that'd be lit. Yeah. Yep. Next level. Yep. Next level battle circuit. Oh my goodness. Just all kinds of memories about Virtua Fighter though. Yeah. Lots of good ones, some iffy ones, like fighting Kage players on stages with tall walls. It's like, oh, their back's to a tall wall. They're about to 10-foot toss you and get a massive juggle. Ugh, ugh. You don't want that. You don't want that. Yeah, another situation. 10-foot toss out of the ring. You definitely can just chuck someone over a tall wall in older games. They made the walls even taller specifically because of that. And I'm like, you know what you did. You know what you did. Kage taught me one lesson. Tech throws. Yeah, you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. Tech throws or die. Yeah, you do not have a choice. Not at all. Yeah, Kage can teach you that. Jeffrey can teach you that. Wolf can teach you that. Like, any of them have throws that are just like, oh, well, I got this throw. That's 60% of your health. You don't want to get caught by them. Thought Jeffrey was a gimmick until I got hit by a splash mountain. Yeah, that's definitely not what you want. Not what you want at all. The gimmick is the retraction of your health. That's the gimmick. And that is exactly the gimmick. Freaking Wolf. I think about Wolf and I just think about Virtua Fighter 4, where Wolf had that really weird, like, knobbish attitude out of nowhere. Like, he's pretty tame in the other games, attitude wise. And then Virtual Fighter 4 happened, and it's like, ah, somebody pissed in your cornflakes this morning, sir. Surprise Pikachu face after 50% health gone. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Wolf with this bad attitude. Did you feel the real power? Go back to school. It's like, no, 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 no. Firstly, calm down. We have to talk about where this attitude of yours came from all of a sudden. You didn't have this in the past games. You didn't have it in the future games. I don't know, did you have stuff to work out? Because what? That's probably kayfabe. Heel wolf. He just living the gimmick. He should have done like T-Zoc and switched his outfit. He came looking exactly the same as he did in the tournament before. T-Zoc had a whole outfit change. The Griffin became the king of dinosaurs, and we knew he was a bad guy. Nah, Wolf just became a jerk. That was his change. That time Sega got Jim Steele to wrestle as Wolf Hawkfield in NJPW. I remember that. That's definitely a throwback moment. Definitely a throwback moment. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like I said, I just hope that it gave some people some better ideas. That's really all I want. I want people to try Virtua Fighter. I really want Virtua Fighter to do and be better than where it is. And that's not to say that it's in a necessarily bad place, because I mean, it's still alive. That's massive in itself. But at the same time, like, we see where their contemporaries are by comparison. And, like, for everything that Virtua Fighter has given us, we could get more. That's a thing. That's a thing to consider. It's free on PS Plus, so people aren't losing anything by trying it. Yeah, it's going to be free. June 1st. June 1st. So it's a thing. Yep. Anyway, like I said, Devil May Cry 4 is done. We're done with DMC4. The next particular stream beyond DMC4 is DMC5. That's the next particular stream. I mean, I could just, mess around with something else for a little bit as well. It's a possibility. But I guess that would depend on what let's see, what time is it? 6:40 p.m. 6:40. Nah, I think it would be good to call it here. Getting close to dinner time, so I'll need to take care of that. But as per usual, thanks to anybody who tuned in. Hopefully, my ranting and gushing over Virtua Fighter didn't put you all to sleep. Because, again, it's one of the few things where I get, like, legitimately excited about it. I could talk about it for hours and not feel bad, so. Kind of a thing. Kind of a thing. Yep. Yeah, it's no problem. Had some interesting things happen, so I appreciate the company. Be back at it tomorrow and starting Devil May Cry 5. Yep. But until then, everybody, have a good night. Hopefully everyone has a good night. Oh, hey, actually, before we go, let's set up a raid. Because I see my friend actually streaming, and I think you would like her stream. So let's go to the creator dashboard so we can do this. I'll say thanks to the new follower. I'll say thanks to Nitos for the raid. That is much appreciated. Speaking of raids, though, we're going to send everybody to Neon Arcadia's channel. Her current thing says that she's doing Super Mario World, something Super Mario World related. It may be a Kaizo thing, and maybe it's another one of those stream situations where she forgot to change the category. We'll see what happens when we get there. But yeah, everybody take it easy. Have a good night.